Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, the new home of power mining analysis. Now the Bitcoin mining stocks are moving in a big way this morning, specifically the HPC related plays, many of which are up double-digit percentages. This is on the backs of Saluna's news yesterday, but more recently we just had a big announcement this morning from Core Scientific, a 70 megawatt expansion of the CoreWeave deal, and we got news out from Bit Digital. So we're going to be dissecting all of that in today's presentation, talking about the key trends we're seeing and the advantages of HPC in this space. But before we do, please take a second, smash the like button, you guys. Big help to myself and the channel. Anthony absolutely loves it. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let us know in the comment section below which of these companies you're holding, how you think about HPC in relation to Bitcoin mining, and your outlook for the back half of the year. Now with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay, guys, so that's right. Holy moly, what an HPC day we're having here, Anthony. The Bitcoin miners, specifically the HPC plays, are absolutely taking off. We have some companies up now in excess of 20%, Anthony. And we've got some big news out from a few of the miners that we cover on a regular basis. So how are you feeling this morning, buddy?
Yeah, another good day in Bitcoin mining land, and rightly so. The announcement that's got today about the HPC are going to be really good. We'll cover them in a second. Yeah.
Yeah, should be good. Just a quick update, you guys. I know there's a lot of news flying around this week. We've got Sue Ennis, head of IR, on tomorrow from Hut 8. So we're going to be talking about their news. We've got Bitdeer on tomorrow afternoon as well, getting an update on that Seal Miner technology roadmap. We're going to try and get those videos out as soon as possible. So potentially a double header tomorrow. Then Thursday, we've got a special guest, Anthony, Freedom by 40. You may know him off Twitter or X. He's going to be on for a 2-hour live podcast. So 10 a.m. Mountain Time till about noon. We've got Soluna next week, Anthony. So this is one we've been talking about a lot. John Belizaire, CEO, coming on Wednesday. And then in addition to that, we just had Sam Tabar, Bit Digital, reach out to try and get on and talk about their HPC announcement today. So we're going to try and have him on this Friday. And then we've got Hive, who also just came out with earnings, Anthony, coming in on July 8th. But we'll discuss earnings in more detail tomorrow and go through some technical analysis with Freedom by 40. So that should be a good segment. So sorry to data dump on you there. Back to the HPC, but definitely related, as we want to hear firsthand from a lot of these leaders. Anthony, we talked about Soluna yesterday. They came out with a huge announcement. Trading is looking extremely strong this morning for Soluna, eh?
Trading is strong, and we've covered these for 7 or 8 months now, and again, we're seeing some of the information that we've been providing getting dispersed. There's been a lot of action this last few weeks. The announcement yesterday was great. And share price today, $8.40 at the moment. I think it is something around that point. So up over 20% today. And bear in mind, it's up over 100% in the last month or so. So really big strides forward. And it's all down to the size of the company. We've talked about this. It's the market capitalization will have gone today maybe closer to 30 million now. So in terms of size, we're used to talking about miners that are 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 billion. There's 11 of them over $1 billion. Here's one that's at $30 million and is delivering great revenues. If you were to talk about how much revenues this company is delivering on based on its market capitalization, it's outperforming every miner. Because it's just punching above its weight. And again, we'll get slaughtered for mentioning a small miner, but you know what? IREN was small 2.5 years ago, and everyone's got them in their portfolio now, or they should have.
Another big mover today, TeraWulf, you guys, up 19%. Bit Digital right now, Anthony, up 26%. IREN up 10%. So you talk about big versus small miners. Ironically, it's actually Marathon and CleanSpark I saw were red this morning slightly. They've turned green now. But it's big pure play miners that really aren't getting the love we saw a few months ago. And instead now it's the HPC players that are getting all of that attention, eh?
Yeah, and if you look at the chart we've got a chart showing the performance of the last sort of 3 months based on today's opening prices. This will have changed a little bit even since the opening because Soluna was heading towards $8. It's now well over $8. Bit Digital was only probably about 7 or 8% up at market opening. Now it's like you say 20%. TeraWulf as well. But just look at the chart now, and you've got all the green at the top. And the coincidence here is all these miners in that top, that top half there are all ones that are looking at HPC as a way forward. You've got Core Scientific, you've got IREN, you've got Wulf, Saluna, Hut, Bitdeer, Bit Digital, and then you look down further, and you've got the pure play miners who won't be touching HPC. They've all announced it. They're staying away from it. They're going to stay with Bitcoin because they think the long-term price on Bitcoin will outperform HPC. And you've got the likes of Bitfarms, Marathon, CleanSpark, Riot. Well, their share price in the last 3 months for those three companies, with the exception of Bitfarms, and we know why Bitfarms' share price has turned a bit high with the Riot interest there. But Marathon, CleanSpark, and Riot, all in the red for the last 3 months. And some of these other players now are heading towards 200% increases. So this predictability about these revenues is what's driving this. And Wall Street, told us on that bus on the way to Denton when we were going to visit the Core Scientific flagship site there. They were only interested in HPC because they can do the maths on the HPC. The numbers are predictable. You can't start guessing what the Bitcoin price is going to be, how much the power is going to blah, blah, blah. This is real numbers. And all the risk in that contract, with CoreWeave it sits with CoreWeave effectively.
Yeah.
So
Now,
utilization of power sits with them and the cost of power. So great position for some of these companies to be in.
It truly is. And HUD 8, yeah, up 18% as well, you guys. We're going to get into that CoreWeave contract in a second, Anthony. And interestingly enough, not trying to toot our own horn here, but this was a direct question that you had asked Adam was, does CoreWeave have the opportunity to upsize that initial 200 megawatts? And we felt like something may be brewing there. Now, before we get into that, I wanted to talk Bit Digital for a second because they're up 26%. We've had Sam Tabar on the program a ton lately. He was here when they announced the 25 million annualized, then they upsized to 50 million annualized. He's reached out. They want to come back on Friday here this week to talk about this new announcement. He kept saying, hey, we're going to get closer to 100, closer to 100. Now they've announced a $92 million annualized run rate HPC contract, Anthony. Doesn't get much better than this if you're a company the size of Bit Digital, eh?
I mean, we knew about the increase in the size of the contracts in terms of what was said. Now this has been what's been agreed, and so today they've announced that they're going to supply this existing customer who will remain anonymous until further notice an additional 2,048 GPUs over a 3-year term. So that means they're going to have just under 4,100 GPUs and approximately 275 million revenue, which if you look at that from an annual perspective, that's about 92 million annually. So he's over 90% of his target and we're still in the month of June. So he's delivering on what he said he would do. And he was the first mining company to go out there with a substantial HPC contract. There are other miners that are doing HPC, but they're not doing it as big as, in terms of at the moment, they're not doing it as big as Bit Digital. And so, to fulfill this contract, they've had to order 256 Dell servers, and those will be equipped with the sort of the NVIDIA HGX H100 GPUs. They're expected to be delivered in July and operational by August 2024. So this is like announcements coming out now and imminently about to start driving revenue. And so to finance this is always important because shareholders want to know, how they paid for this? Do they pay with cash? Have they sold shares? So this deal will be financed through cash, through some digital assets. And then they're going to, have a sale and lease back for 1,024 of the GPUs. So basically they'll buy them and then they'll sell them back through a lease back agreement. So effectively they'll pay a lease price to a vendor for the duration of the contract, and that way there's no risk on them. Then when they stop using it, they stop paying. So and from Sam's perspective, he's explained that this agreement in getting towards their is getting them towards their 100 million annualized revenue target by the year end. So they've only got another 8 million to achieve that target. And who knows if we get another announcement in a few months' time, if things are progressing well, to certainly increase with the current customer. So yeah, good update from Bit Digital today, and the share price reflects that news. Again, small miner in terms of mining hash rate. But big on delivery. So they've got a number of streams of revenue. Yes, they're going to keep going with the Bitcoin mining. They're at 2.7 now, 2.8. That's going to 6 by the end of the year. And the good thing is about the profits from the AI services will be going back into Bitcoin mining. So you've got that, as well as they've got a staking service as well with their Ethereum. And as the Ethereum spot ETF is about to be imminently approved, that gives them a great position with that coin as well. So all round, it's just been a great 6 months for Bit Digital with the news updates they provided.
Yeah, it sure has. And thinking back over those 6 months, Anthony, I know we were reflecting on some of our earlier interviews. You got to watch these interviews, you guys. Everybody has access to the press releases and the reports. Very few sources online right now can you get access to CEOs like you can in the Bitcoin mining space, or I should say the HPC space. And if you go back and you watch these interviews with John Belazaire or Sam Tabar, it's really difficult not to have faith in these companies after watching the enthusiasm, the passion, the delivery, the commitment of these CEOs. So in that same vein, we've got Sue Ennis on the channel tomorrow. Give us your questions, you guys. We take the questions from the subscribers. We ask them to these individuals from the companies. We've got John on, we've got Sam on in the next week or so. So make sure you take advantage of these opportunities, specifically if you're looking to start a position in these companies. Great opportunity to do some due diligence. Now, another CEO we're a big fan of here, Adam Sullivan. We just got back from Denton. CoreWeave, Core Scientific. This was really, I'm using the word galvanized, the tipping point, Anthony, where we saw the Bitcoin mining industry start to really become defined as Bitcoin and HPC. The CoreWeave deal was 200 megawatts nameplate. We learned that there's about 35% additional megawatts needed for auxiliary services. And now they've decided to upsize. So they went out with an additional 70 megawatts nameplate HPC. That represents about 100 megawatts of their total capacity once you add in the auxiliary services, the AC, all those additional requirements. Another interesting one was 24/7 security. We learned was a big cost for these data centers as well. But this was really something that you had kind of maybe felt was coming, Anthony, and you had actually asked Adam about prior, hey?
This was, yeah, I mean, you had to be in that room on the day they went through the presentation. It was recorded live, so retail investors from around the world were able to tune into that. And I know a number did tune into that because it was a big 2-hour presentation and question and answer. So there's probably about 50 minutes of a presentation, and then we had a short 15-minute break, and then it was like an hour of questions. And believe you me, 48 out of the 50 questions were all about HPC. And when you came away from that meeting, the bullishness that was felt, it was just a matter of days before we were going to hear something. You could sense that feeling that Adam had something potentially, to issue out, in the next few weeks, and he's done exactly that. So today, they've announced that CoreWeave, who are they have the current contract for infrastructure, and they've got a 200 megawatt 12-year HPC hosting agreement, which was signed on June the 3rd. They have an option to increase that, and today they've identified that's going to be there's going to be an additional 70 megawatts for hosting. So in terms of total HPC power, that's 270 megawatts, and in terms of actual power itself is going to be about 380 megawatts usage. So there's some ancillary service to support the HPC services, and these this increase in it will begin in the second half of 2024, and operations are expected to be anticipated towards the latter part of 2025. So in the early part of 2025, which is the first 200 megawatts, is going to be built and ready for energizing, and then the second part, this 70 megawatts, will come online then. What this does in terms of financials, it enhances the company's earnings potential by adding an additional $1.23 billion in projected revenue over that 12-year period, in addition to the $3.5 billion they've already signed for.
And just to pause there, you guys, think about the stability that adds to your business, right? And that's exactly why those analysts are so excited about HPC. For 12 years now, Adam Sullivan and Core Scientific have got that stable recurring revenue in the billions.
Yeah. And, with that additional increase in power, there's also the capital required to build that facility. So to change the current 100 megawatt facility into a HPC facility, that's going to require an estimated $105 million of capital, and CoreWeave are paying that again in advance, in addition to the $300 million they've already agreed. So that's $405 million of upfront funding to cover the capital requirements for building that 270 megawatts of HPC power. And what will happen is that is effectively loaned to Core Scientific, and it's basically when the service starts, so when the commencement of the service starts, the commencement of the period, those will be credited against the future payments of the company. So in fact, if you look at it from simplistic terms, just literally the first 2 years, and I think a very small part of the third year, is where this 405 million will get credited back against all the revenues driven. And bear in mind, the revenues are significant for this project. So they'll still make, in those first 2 years, even though they're paying back, they'll still make significant credits. But just to highlight the fact that now they've got 4.7 billion of revenue over the 12 years. That's an average of about 392 million in average revenue per year. And if we look at that from a profit, from year 3 onwards, that profit margin per year is $315 million. And you just need to let that sink in for a second, because that's a significant amount of revenue. I mean, we talk about it's getting on for nearly $1 million a day in HPC revenues. Now we know at the moment that Core Scientific, with their 20 exahash, are producing 1 Bitcoin, 14 Bitcoins a day. So 14 Bitcoins at the current price, that's actually about just over 800,000 in revenues. So this HPC contract, using just 270 megawatts of HPC power, close to 380 megawatts of actual power, is going to deliver as much as the Bitcoin is at the moment. But that's in profit. That's not in.
I was going to say, keep in mind the margin difference.
That's that. So on that Bitcoin mining, we know that probably half that daily revenue is going to be the energy cost alone, and then you've got the overheads to pay. So this is, for Core Scientific, this couldn't be a better 6 months, having come out of Chapter 11 on the 12th of January 2024. The news since they've come out is just, it's just been really, really positive news. Really, really, signed good contracts. Adam's been there now since, probably coming up to 12 months. He's been in the company. He's well respected by all the mining community, and him and his team there are just delivering month by month. And you can see, having been to the site and we've met all the senior team there, they're just keen to just keep delivering. We got the opportunity to speak to a lot of the senior members of the team who came round and explained things about what was happening at Denton with regards to repair services, regards to their Bitcoin mining facilities there, the 3 big 50 megawatt buildings they've got there. And it was just really, really great to have that sort of like, face-to-face contact where asking. I mean, I asked people know I can ask questions. I was asking, I probably asked more questions than everybody else added together during the day. But
Yeah.
having that opportunity, I didn't want to let it go by. So all in all, this is going to be a really, really good deal. 75 to 80% of the revenues they receive from year 3 onwards is pure profit. So
Really
that's
incredible.
and another thing is it's a 12-year contract with 2 5-year options for extension. So at the 12-year point, CoreWeave and Core Scientific could decide they want to do another 5 years, and they've got 2 options to do that. So they could take it up to 2022. The really good thing about this contract, which differs from Bit Digital, which differs from IREN, which differs from Hive and HUT, is that here CoreWeave are paying for capex, power, and utilities, and that's a big difference. Core Scientific don't have to rely on the power supply reaching a utilization of 99.999%. That's down to CoreWeave and the utility company, so that's taken out of there. So for effectively being a large data center manager, this is potentially going to put Core Scientific in that sort of top 10 of data center managers for HPC in America.
I remember that point. I had actually thought it might be top 5, but top 10 is at least a little bit safer. And
growing top 10, but growing.
Yeah. And when you talk about the management team and driving shareholder value, we heard that in the presentation a number of times, Anthony. But as we were out at that Denton site, and this goes for Corsicana as well, you could tell every single one of those employees, every day, every decision they were faced with, they said, what's going to drive shareholder value at this point in time? And boy, are those results coming true. And it's not just these couple companies, you guys, like we say, Hut 8 having a phenomenal day, Soluna having a phenomenal day, IREN. We're talking companies that are up double-digit percentages, but every single company we cover today, Anthony, is up at least a few percentage. So you're comparing yourself to these double-digit gains, but realistically, the entire sector is benefiting from these press releases. So in addition to that, like we said, we got Hive earnings out. So we're going to go through that in detail tomorrow. Get your questions in for the team from Hive as well, if you have any related to their earnings. I know they're dabbling in HPC as well, which is a super exciting point for their business model. Anthony, I'll throw it back to you for any closing thoughts, but generally speaking, a very productive, exciting, happy day for the Bitcoin mining sector. Quite a contrast to how we were feeling last Friday to end out the week.
Yeah, it's a green day today, and it's to be honest, it's been led by 2 or 3 companies in terms of share price. So we've got Bit Digital now at 40% up on the day. And Core Scientific, with its share price and its warrant price, is doing extremely well, and TeraWulf as well doing. Let's not forget TeraWulf. But again, it's these companies that decide to go into HPC. Now there'll be a different conversation when the Bitcoin price rallies and it goes up to say 140, 150,000, and we know from Sam Tabar's point of view, it has to get above 110 to start making the Bitcoin mining a little bit more viable in comparison. So, this is nice while it happens now, but let's not take, anything away from the management teams at Riot Platforms, at Marathon, at Bitfarms, and at CleanSpark, who decided to go pure play, because they've also got to where they are, but through Bitcoin mining, and they see the future in Bitcoin mining, and it's not just about this cycle; it's probably about 2 cycles ahead that some of these companies are starting to think about. And bear in mind, Adam's also focused on the Bitcoin mining. With this model here, he was asked, why don't you just give up the Bitcoin mining and just move straight into HPC? This is where your predicted revenues could, really, really take off. and you can benefit from that. And he went, no. We said, we started as a Bitcoin mining company. We see the relevance of Bitcoin mining, but while we've got access to 1,200 megawatts, we can determine, and elements of that goes across to HPC. So, let's not just, totally disregard the Bitcoin mining. We're only here because of Bitcoin mining, you and me. It's like we're still focused on that there. It's just nice that the news stories at the moment with the predictive model that this HPC can bring to the table, it makes things a little bit easier for those analysts on Wall Street who sort of like probably scratch their heads at sort of the Bitcoin price on a regular basis being so volatile. There's no volatility in this HPC, and that's why it's good at the moment. But we'll be having a different conversation maybe in 8 months, 12 months time if the Bitcoin price is double where it is now, and the likes of Jason could be sat in his office thinking, I did say to you there's a reason why we're staying Bitcoin mining. So let's not put any water on that particular potential there. But it's a great day for those companies, and a lot of them have gone that way, and a lot of them have gone that way because I think some of them weren't able to grow, so they're using HPC as a way of growing some revenues and using the profits from their revenues to then grow Bitcoin mining. So we talked about this challenge of being able to grow as a small miner. This will give some of those miners the ability to do more.
It really will. And you're exactly right, Anthony. I like that closing, that HPC is obviously great. It's super beneficial to the sector, the earnings, the revenues, but we're all here because of Bitcoin, you guys. And this is really icing on the cake to what's already such a lucrative, exciting industry to operate in. So Anthony, a great close, a great segment today. We'll be back tomorrow with a couple interviews for you guys. We'll catch you then. Make sure if you're not subscribed, feel free to join. We're almost at 45,000 subscribers. Hit the like button, you guys, if you're still watching. Helps get this to other viewers like you who may find interest. And of course, leave a comment or question for the upcoming interviews below. Thanks so much. We'll see you tomorrow.